slate on which we're going to add all of our entries. Now, the main reason that inventories are so important is, of course, that they protect your landlords from losing any money whatsoever. They're often used as legal documents, so it's important that the report itself is very clear and descriptive. The inventory also provides the letting agent and the landlord with a detailed description and the current condition of the property throughout the tenancy, which can definitely come in handy. So we're going to start by adding an entry, and we'll do that by clicking in this grey box on the top left. Let's add an add an item. And I'm going to add, my first room is going to be a bathroom. And let's select a bath. Okay, and as we go along, we can also put the condition that they're in, and we can go into as much detail as we want here. It's important to add the condition so that if the tenant damages an item, then it's clear as possible what condition it was in before. We find it works best to work from left to right of each room, taking notes of the conditions, like I said, as well as the cleanliness and if it's operating correctly. So for this bath, we're going to say that it's in good condition and there's no damage, making the damage type not applicable. Let's add some more details like the bath type. We'll say it's a corner bath, white plastic. You can even add details like the plug type, tap finish, which we'll say is brass, and the taps as well. So once we've saved the item, we can see that it's been added to the overall inventory. To add images, that's very easy. We simply go to the item and we click this green box on the right. I think images are the most important thing, because if a dispute does arise, then it's definitely less down to an individual's opinion. So make sure that you're taking pictures of absolutely everything. So if we click in that box, this is obviously taking me to my documents. Whereas if I was using this on my phone, it would take me to my camera roll. I've just got your email, Lee. I think what's going to work best is if you go into settings on the video and turn it into 1080p. I hope that makes sense. And if it's still blurry, what I'd recommend to do is rewind it back to the very beginning and then watching it from the start. That's the best thing I can recommend. Again, there's a 30-second delay on this, so you'll get this a bit later. Okay, so I'll just carry on now. So once we've added the photo and we've seen the green tick, we know that it's uploaded. And what we want to do now is add another item. But before we do that, I think it's important to stress that you can add meter readings, which are important as they ensure that the landlord doesn't get any unexpected bills and that the tenant pays exactly what they should. We can also add keys, which ensure that we have a record of who has access to the property, which is important for obvious reasons. But it also gives you a record of whether or not the tenant has returned them all at the end of the tenancy as well. Okay, so let's add a new entry. You'll also notice that we don't give the option to enter in sort of your own information, so there's no typing in of anything. And this is purely because for consistency within the reports. So people use different expressions to describe different objects. Someone might call it a table, someone might call it a work surface. So this is purely for consistency. You'll also notice that instead of scrolling through all the rooms again, I simply have a tab that tells me the existing rooms that I've added. So I can simply select bathroom. And for the item, I'm going to add a sink. Again, I'm just going to add a few more details. There's also the option to add notes. So, if there's something that you can't really describe with a picture or with these selections, then you can always add notes. Let's say this is in poor condition and very damaged. We'll say the damage type is chipped. Right, and we'll give it a few more details as well. So we'll say it's plastic, stainless steel. We'll give the plug type. We'll say the tap finish is brass, and it's a double sink. Okay, so let's save that item. You'll also notice that the ones in red, that signifies that they're in poor or bad condition, whilst in green, that's perfect or good. So it just makes it a lot easier on the eye. Again, let's add another image, taking us to our documents. Obviously, you'd be using this on your phone or tablet, so it's going to take you to your camera roll. Let's close that. So now we know how to make basic item adding. We can save ourselves lots of time and add a property template. Now, what I mean by that is if we go back to inventories and add a new inventory, let's select it for the same property. Let's also say it's a check-in. But this time I'm going to add a template. So these are a list of all the properties that we've added. I'm going to select a 2-bedroom bungalow. And what this basically does is add all the rooms and items that are commonly found within a 2-bedroom bungalow. And if there is a property that you need that isn't on our list, you can certainly add them yourself. So let's save that inventory. And let's go into it now. Okay, so we can see that it's added the bathroom, 2 bedrooms, a dining room, a hallway, a kitchen, a living room, and a front and back garden. But not only that, it's also added the items that will commonly be found within those rooms. So for instance, if we scroll to the top and look in the bathroom, we see it's added all the floors, walls, ceilings, as well as a bath and a sink. So all we have to do now is add the items which may not be included in the template, as well as the conditions and the images. And obviously, the more expensive the deposit, then the more likely you are to go into more detail on the inventory. Because if it's a £300 deposit, then it's not really going to be worth spending hours of time, which you end up paying in order to protect that deposit. Whereas if it's more expensive, like £3,000, then you can definitely afford to spend more time writing the inventory and going into much more detail. Okay, so let's say that the tenant's lived in the property for 6 months now, and we want to do a midterm inspection. Now again, we could start the inventory from scratch, or we could even use a template, and that would speed it up a lot more. But I think the biggest time saver here is if we take advantage of duplication. And what duplication basically does is make an exact copy of the reports that we're on now. So we're looking in this grey box on the top left. Let's click duplicate inventory. And we've got a choice here. So we can duplicate the entries, the variation options, the photos, and the keys. For now, this works as it is. The only thing that I'm going to change is the report type, and I'm going to change that to an interim. Once we hit duplicate, again, this is just going to make an exact copy of the report we were just on. And there it is. So of course, all we're going to have to do now is change the conditions, add new photos, but it has saved us a lot of time. Okay, so let's say another 6 months has passed and the tenant would like to move out. That, of course, means that we need to do a checkouts report. This is done in exactly the same way as the midterm. So we could just duplicate the inventory, change the report type to a checkout. And again, these work for me, these variation options. So I'm going to click duplicate inventory. Once that's loaded, again, this is just taking us to the inventory that we need. This is a checkout. And we can see it's identical. All we're going to need to change is a few conditions and of course add the images. So once we've completed the reports and we're happy that it's accurate and clear, we're of course going to want a PDF generation of it. And we can do that by going to inventories, and depending on which report you want, so if I wanted this top report, I would simply click the green button on the left. That would take me to this screen. Obviously I've used your logo there, which is very easy to change, as well as the company colors. It's very customizable LettingCheck. So we have the location of the property photo, the table of contents. Scroll a bit faster now and we come to the property photo again. Now we have meter readings and keys with dates as well. Now we've come to the inventory items. Again, the red signifying that it's in poor or bad condition, whilst green is in perfect or good. All the property photos on the right. Let's scroll a bit faster now. You can see I've gone into a lot more detail in some of these. If we scroll a bit faster, we're eventually going to come to comparison reports. We also have a list of all of the photos here, which are numbered, so it makes it a lot easier for referencing. Okay, so we've come to comparison reports. And a good example of this is with meter readings. So we can see the check-in, the gas reading was 1,000, whilst the checkout has gone up and it's 3,000. This is the more important bit, I believe. So we've come to rooms and the items within those rooms. So we have a toilet, and basically what a comparison report does is show all the changes that have happened from the check-in all the way through to the checkout. So the toilet was in perfect condition. However, now due to deterioration, it's in poor condition. We also have the door that's changed. And the window. All these items are under the room that they're in, so obviously we've got the bathroom, and all the items below it are the ones that are in the bathroom that have changed. Let's scroll further down and we can see some better examples. I've just got your email, Lee. Can I get a copy of that print emailed so I can show people what it looks like? I'm assuming you mean the inventory, which I can definitely send over to you. If I'm wrong, drop me another email and hopefully I'll understand. Okay, so again, a good example. In the back garden, the lawn was in perfect condition at the beginning of the tenancy, and now it's in poor. Great, so that just about sums everything up. Thanks for listening. Of course, I'll be emailing you after this, answering any of your questions. The coupon code that I mentioned earlier is HQ 2 months, all in capitals, and that will give you 50% off for the first 2 months of LettingCheck. Again, thanks for listening. This is recorded, so of course you'll be able to watch this again. And I will speak to you soon, Lee.